Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Dimitri Johnson, and you're listening to MMALatestNews.com.
It's time to roll, baby.
And that's why we didn't unmute the mics. We'll introduce it again. We are MMA Latest. We are here for the Cage Warriors 114 preview. And of course, I'm joined with Quilter. It's a triple header event. Quilter, I think it's been about a month since we've known of the trilogy. How excited was you when it got announced, and how excited are you now that it's here?
Good start, Mitch.
It is live.
Yeah, technical difficulties. I was sitting here looking at it, like,
Can't hear anything.
Yeah, I can't hear it. Mitch just moving his mouth. Yeah, it's been maybe a month now, a bit over that, I think. But I've been looking for ever since the trilogy's been announced. I've been looking forward to it. This fight in particular is probably the one that's not gotten hit the most, because tomorrow got hit pretty badly. If people they win tonight, there's potential they fight on Saturday. It's absolute madness, and I love every minute of it. I am all aboard the hype train for this show, for all three of these shows. Excuse me.
100%. Obviously, it is the first Cage Warriors card that we've had back since lockdown, and the trilogy. When it got announced, it's a fantastic one. But it's almost now tonight, especially, it's almost like we've got our starter, main course, and dessert coming up on Saturday night. And tonight is almost the perfect way to kick off the card, isn't it? As you said, tomorrow's card has taken quite a big hit with positive COVID tests. But tonight, Samir Faiddine puts his flyweight title on the line against Luke Shanks. It's the perfect opener tonight.
Yeah, it's really good. It's strange because there's three flyweight fights on this card, and it's just mad. And realistically, I'm looking at the card thinking, okay, this main event is fairly solid, but we're probably going to get, you're getting the number one contender that's going to be eyeing up that fight as well from one of the fights that's on beforehand. It should be a banger, really. It's a great one to start off with, and kicking off. I think it's kicking off the whole thing. Owen Elliott, serious prospect. There's another one. He had a bit of back and forth, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to Samir Faiddine. Obviously, he made his Cage Warriors debut on the night he became the flyweight champion. How impressed are you? Obviously, we were speaking off air that you're saying a win tonight for him could see him promoted up to the UFC, perhaps.
Yeah, I was saying that to you yesterday, because I wouldn't be surprised, but I'd imagine he'd have at least one more fight in Cage Warriors, because he's obviously with France is kind of it's like a market at the moment for all promotions, and Bellator have obviously won the race to be the first there, but UFC will be eyeing up that, thinking, okay, let's kind of cash in on this as putting, you could put Ngannou in a card. Obviously, when things start clearing up, it could be a case then, but for now, and when the time comes, you can imagine if Samir Faiddine wins, they would sign him along with quite a few other French fighters, but he'd be a shoo-in, to say the least.
Yeah, 100%. Do you think, the fact that Bellator have pulled the trigger first in terms of being the first event and the first organisation or major organisation to land in France and Paris in a couple of weeks now, do you think Cage Warriors will almost be almost tempting him to stay just so, a win tonight for him gives them that opportunity to build a proper, exciting Paris card for them going into next year, perhaps?
I think I tweeted this there a few days ago. Yeah, I would. I think there's four.
There's 4 fighting this week, I believe, this weekend.
Well, not anymore because
we might have.
But there was originally scheduled. There's 4 originally scheduled, and if all 4 won, 2 would have been. If 2 won, there would have been. You have 2 French champions, which means it'd be a no-brainer, especially because the popularity, especially if Charrier, I'm not too sure I say his name correctly, but I'm going to go with that. Especially his popularity, it'd be an absolute no-brainer to go there, because you just sell ridiculous amount of tickets. His popularity is through the roof. I love it. And do you ever see them on Twitter? They're putting pirate flags everywhere. They're wild. His fans are wild. So I'd love for them just to go there, especially when there's crowds there, just to see the reaction he get.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be interesting to see how the Bellator Paris goes down, but I believe that would be an absolute storm for them. And the fact that it'll be their first event back as well with live crowds. Obviously, the last event in the UK, as I mentioned, was Cage Warriors 112, to have crowds in attendance. And, I was fortunate enough to be there, and it was a fantastic night. And a couple of the fighters that are on there tonight and fighting across the the Trilogy I managed to see in person. But it's nice to have the sport back again in the European circuit, especially because I feel like this week especially, it's almost we've been building up to this point, and it's now peaked, and everyone's come back this weekend, and it's been phenomenal. But as you mentioned there, the French market is one that all the big organisations are going to look at. You've got Aries as well now over in Belgium. They're probably going to be looking to put a show on in France very soon. It's a good time for Europe.
Yeah, it's a great time for Europe. Like, it's it kind of feels like we're kind of back to normal again with so many different shows on. Cage Warriors back in full swing, and then you have I could go through so many we were talking about yesterday. But the fact that you have Cage Warriors back is like a staple made for UK MMA, Irish MMA, and just European MMA in general, because that's kind of the known path for getting to the highest level, which is the UFC. So it's having them back just means more people are able to just develop further and be closer to whatever dream they have, and that's the beauty of it. So.
100%. And obviously, Graham Boylan did put a tongue-in-cheek tweet out when Michael Chandler went to the UFC, saying that Cage Warriors was the European feeder league, while Bellator was the American feeder league to the UFC. So, obviously, had a bit of banter back and forth there. But I believe they're on 96 or 97 contracted fighters since the original Fight Island, aren't they, now, that have gone over to the UFC. So you see how much talent has gone through Cage Warriors now.
Yeah, I'd say after these 3 events, they're going to be over
past 100.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know who that 100's going to be, but I can make a good guess.
Definitely. Obviously, it is, it benefits them being on UFC Fight Pass a lot, doesn't it? Everyone tonight, especially the fact that there's no crowds. I'd imagine the UFC Fight Pass sign-ups have skyrocketed for the UK audience this week, just because everyone wants to see this event go down. But exactly, all 3 of them. So it's going to be interesting because it's annoying that I live half away from the arena. It's literally half an hour away from where I am. But obviously we have to watch on UFC Fight Pass. But we'll go back to that title fight. What are you expecting this one? We'll have a quick look at the tail of the tape, of course.
Oh, those new graphics look good, Mitch.
Cage Warriors special.
Guys, yeah, pulling out all the tricks. I love it. Sorry, yeah, this is a fantastic fight. I love this. Obviously we saw Samir Faiddine's debut there, last time out. He beat Creasy, I feel really bad for Sam Creasy because he's got this. He's like the gatekeeper to the title because he's good. He's good enough for a title shot. He's just not. I don't know. He's just not been able to.
Just not showed up on the night.
Himself. Yeah, he's just not solidified himself as the champion for. Actually, was the champion for? But he's not been able to solidify himself, and I don't know. He's kind of been like gatekeeper. That's probably the best way of putting it. Excuse me rambling, but yeah. So he beat him last time out. He looked good. I watched it earlier. Actually, he looked solid. Faidine is, he's legit. And the fact that he's French is obviously going to help because, in terms of support, because the amount of people I want to eyes watching these events just because of Morgan Cherry that was meant to fight on Sunday or Saturday. So you get the fans from them tuning in for this as well. It's fantastic. From watching a bit of tape, so I watched his fight on Cage Survivor earlier, and he was good. He was nice in the feet. He bouncing around, kind of waiting for his opportunity to land a few strikes, and then he shot in for that double leg, and he done it for all 3 rounds. So he literally just bounced around, then went in for the takedown and took it down for the floor. He was fantastic. He was fantastic. Game planned that fight to the max. Looked very well. That was the fight before his Cage Warriors debut, before he won the title. So he looked good in that. Came out in his last fight, phenomenal once again. Finished that fight as well. It was a great way to debut. And now he's got probably, I'd say, is a much more difficult fight in Luke Shanks. Luke Shanks is a beast, man. I am so high on Luke Shanks. I think he's beaten Hignit, who's also on the card. He's beaten Pietro Menga. He actually fought Adam Amara-Singh as well when they were amateurs, but he lost the fight. And he was also supposed to fight Jake Hadley before as well. It's crazy. The flyweight division's so small; they're all meant to fight each other. But Luke Shanks is he's a beast, man. I was watching some of his fights earlier as well. He will literally, if he gets on top of you, if he's striking with you, he's dangerous everywhere. I fancy him more on the mat actually than anything. I think if this one could end up with two of them on the floor trying to, and kind of outdo each other there.
Definitely. I was just looking there. Obviously, Samir is only 27 years old. 17 fights is quite a lot for someone who's only 27 years of age. Obviously, in a professional game, probably expecting to be at that 8 or 9, pushing on to the 10 fight record. But, 11-6 is a lot of experience for someone still very young in the game.
Yeah, he's like, so in fairness, I think Luke Shanks, he's 25 and he's got 7 fights as well, and he's fought in some big promotions as well throughout his career. But in terms of Samir, yeah, I think the loss is a bit deceptive because he's been fighting in a few different regions. He's been fighting a few different regions. He's been keeping active, so you're gonna get some of these as well. He's been building experience. Yeah, it's good. It's so nice to see this experience because guys are actually like keeping active, constantly fighting, and just improving, trying to get to the UFC. So.
Definitely. I'm looking down his record at the moment. He did go on a 3-loss skid at the road. That was all in different organizations, of course. So it probably shows, the environment changing organizations a lot as well. But I do recognize his most recent loss. Not the Khamzat we know in the UFC at the moment, but it was a Khamzat. So the name just pulled up is, Chimaev obviously being the biggest star at the moment in MMA. You could say it just made me chuckle going down his record. But to the main event, prediction wise, are you thinking we're going to get an Anu or an Still?
Ooh, I was thinking about this earlier because I was just from what I've seen from different tape. I'm gonna go at Luke Shanks. I've watched quite a few of his fights. I think he's absolutely lethal. I think he's kind of the future for UK MMA in a sense. So I think him and Jake Hadley are kind of my bets for like future of UK MMA at flyweight. Once those two clash, I can't wait. But that'll happen some point down the line for sure. But I think it's Luke Shanks' line for me. How about you? What are you thinking?
You know what? This will be, I'm excited because this is a first time for me in terms of seeing a lot of these fighters actually perform on the night as well. I've seen a couple live, but again, still very new to the European circuit. So it'd be interesting to see. I'm going to go with Samir. I think the experience is in his favour, 11-6. But as you mentioned, Luke Shanks is on the come up, 3-fight win streak, and it could be very dangerous. But I think Samir probably just has the edge over him just a little bit.
Ooh, split on this one. So you're going to give the experience over the bright prospect from the UK.
I do, and I think either we get Cage Warriors Paris in the next 6 months, or Samir gets a call up to that Contender Series in November, perhaps.
Oh, you think he's Contender Series?
Do you think he gets straight in? Because at the moment, if you get a call up to UFC, it seems to be a Contender Series is the first step. You don't get too many that go straight into the UFC proper, if you want to call it that.
No, he goes straight to the UFC, Mitch. No way. Go away. He's like, imagine that. Like you win the King Warriors title, all the people who have won before, lads who have won before have gone to the UFC. Not all, excuse me, but that's the expectancy, not to just land on Contender Series.
I'll hold my hands up there.
Yeah.
But yes, definitely.
The flyweight division is so thin, like ridiculous.
That's a good point.
So why would you waste a talent, especially a French talent? No, I don't agree.
We shall move on to, and as you mentioned, another flyweight battle, of course, Jake Hadley versus Shadil Hake. We're going to pronounce his name. Sorry if we have butchered that. But, another flyweight in that co-main spot. What are you expecting from this one?
Genuinely, I'm expecting Hadley just to take him down. He'll be patient, take him down. I expect him to finish this. That is purely for my prediction for this one. I was watching. I think I watched about 3 or 4 Jake Hadley fights today. The only one I didn't get to see was the Zulu fight from EFC. He took out a really good prospect, probably the best flyweight fighter in South Africa, and the best kind of a legend of EFC as well. When he took him out, I was like, okay, he's legit. And then he went to Bellator and he submitted Blaine O'Driscoll, who was previously supposed to fight for the Cage Warriors side as well. Yeah, man, I am really high on Hadley in this one. How about you?
Definitely, I think looking at his record here, He bounced back from those two fight loss streak. You know, he defeated Sam Creasy, as you mentioned. He's got some good wins on his record. I would say Superman on actually that's Hack, sorry, but Jake Hadley. You know, he's undefeated. You know, he's got some good wins on his record, and it's going to be interesting. We'll take a quick look at the teletape. We've got Jake Hadley, obviously 5-0, 24 years of age, still very young, 5'7", up against 10-4. I think you're probably right. I think we're looking at someone keeping their undefeated record at the moment. Someone who's a very bright prospect coming up in the game.
Man, his ground game is so good. I was watching him and I was thinking, oh my god, this lad is. He's no slouch in the feet here, but my god, he's lethal. He has his work cut out for him. Like he's fighting someone who's been around this circuit for years. He's well experienced. He's fought kind of everyone, not everyone. He's fought a lot of lads who a lot of experience and just been around the UK circuit. So he's Hag is he's dangerous, but I don't think he's gonna be Hadley. I think it's gonna be Hadley's time.
Do you think a win? You mentioned it a little bit before. A win for Hadley gets him the title shot.
Oh, yeah. I think it does. I know there's another flyweight out, but I think this would be considering he had the EFC title before, and then obviously the win against Ben O'Driscoll. I'm thinking, okay, he's surely going to step up if he wins this one. He's good enough. I feel like he could have been, if he could have been in a shout to fight this if he had a Cage Warriors fight before this. I thought he would have been in the title, fight. But yeah, he's next for me, I think.
100%. I think, especially with him being on the co-main event, it's going to be that we get a lot of recency bias. If he gets in a good, impressive win, I don't know what their post-fight situation could be because it's the first one back. But if he nails that post-fight interview, he's probably going to find himself in a title shot in the near future, and he's going to have the winner in that co-main event is going to have all eyes on that main event, and being hopeful that they can take on the winner of that.
Most likely will. I'd be surprised if they didn't, to be honest.
Definitely. And obviously, as you mentioned, another flyweight event on this one is Hignit versus Adam Amara-Singh. How are you expecting this one to go?
I think this one could be really, really fun. I really like Conor. I've seen him a lot. I think I've been at 2 of his fights. I've seen him a few times. He's a really, really, really nice guy. Good fighter, solid hands. He likes to bring. I think once or twice he was. I think I was at the Sam Creasy fight, and he got dominated, and it was that was a rough fight. He didn't look great in that fight. He looked really good. He looked good in the Darren O'Gorman fight. He actually, in that Darren O'Gorman fight, I thought he was down 2 rounds. I thought the way I had it scored is that he was down, and then he came back and just absolutely wiped Darren O'Gorman. So I like him on the feet. I like his power in his hands, and with Amara-Singh as well. Now he's legit in my opinion. I think he's really, really good. His record might be a bit deceiving some people, but they've been at bantamweight. At flyweight, he's been insanely good. He's really kind of he times his strikes well. He's really sharp. He looks so good in the feet. Really good to watch as well. So I think this one, if it takes place mainly on the feet, it should be an absolute banger.
Definitely. Obviously, you mentioned there Darren O'Gorman for Conor. They have got same opponent in terms of they both fought Darren O'Gorman before this fight. He did win by split decision. Adam on that night at Cage Warriors 106, but he then he's in that spot at the moment where you see he got two wins and 2 losses in his last 4 fights. But as you mentioned there, Conor Hignit, do you think you said you was there at Sam Creasy? Do you think that was maybe more, you get fights where if you go in, you win, you don't learn as much as maybe if you lose a couple. Do you think those 2 against Sam Creasy and Luke Shanks probably benefited more?
Oh yeah, obviously. You're gaining experience, really, aren't you? At the end of the day, you're gaining experience. You win or lose, you still got, you're still going to take something from it and come out and improve. I think this one, despite even if there were tough losses, you're only going to get better. So that means you're going to we'll hopefully see a better version of that person in the next fight.
Definitely. And, as you mentioned there, he bounced back from those 2 losses with 2 wins in a row and, 2 finishes in a row as well.
Yeah, he looked good, man. Especially that last one. That last one now I was really, really impressed with. And it kind of lined this fight up perfectly. So I'm really, really excited for this one.
Definitely. Taking a quick look at the Taylor tape, unfortunately, the ages are pretty difficult to get a hold of, but you mentioned the 8 and 5. That's a good bit of experience. So, 8 and 5 is a good record to have, isn't it, in terms of the experience he's picked up, albeit he probably wouldn't like to see as many losses on that record.
No, I don't. I don't think so. But he's been he's a really proper scrapper, man. He loves to fight. He's really, really good. I think you got the picture wrong, Mitch. Look at that. That is not the ginger-headed lad that I know.
We'll get that down immediately. Teepman.
I was looking at it, I was thinking, that's not Ginger kind of Hignit.
He's morphed. He's fighting twice in a night. It's a tournament. Don't. But
yeah, he's got a lot of experience, good scrapper, serious power in those hands, especially for flyweights. I think very deceptive. Both these guys got really, really good power.
Yeah, definitely. We always expect when someone says they're a powerful hit, you're thinking heavyweight, light heavyweight division, but it seems to be we think of the flyweights more as a lot more technical, a lot more faster than them, but we forget how heavy some of them can hit. Look at Jack Cartwright who's fighting tomorrow. He lands some hands, even though he's in the bantamweight division, of course. He's one heavy hitter.
Really is, man.
I've heard him hit pads and people.
I love it, like just sitting there thinking, oh my god, you must hit like an absolute truck.
Most definitely. I do move on to a good welterweight scrap between Aaron Khalid versus Mick Stanton. What are you expecting from this bout coming up?
This one for me was kind of, it's not the one I'm the most looking forward to. Probably going to be a good scrap though. Like, in fairness to Aaron Khalid, he's seen him fight. He's a solid fighter, man. I do feel bad for him. He fought Ross Houston twice. He also fought Alex Lahore. And before that Lahore fight, he was on a 3-fight win streak. So I feel really bad for him because he's fought really, really good guys. So he's not been out there. He's not been wandering around the UK fighting guys like Reece Street. He's been getting in there with proper lads. Like, he's been testing himself. And the same goes for Mick Stanton. Like, these guys, they don't care. They just want to fight. Like, I think with Stanton, it was the 96 card in Liverpool when there was he stepped in for, who was it? Lee Chadwick that night, and he fought for the title against Jonas Philistine, I think it was.
Yeah.
And he put, like, do you know what? He went for it. He went for it. He went up, I think he was up a weight class, everything. And the amount of respect the amount of respect that I have for him since that, and like the heart he showed, ridiculous. So I like this fight. I think it's going to be gritty fight between two lads.
Definitely. You mentioned there, he's also got a win. Aaron has got a win over Adam Proctor, of course, who's a very highly touted welterweight. That was before his losses to Ross Houston, who again, we see where he's going. He's making his Bellator debut in Paris in a couple of weeks. So we know that the level of competition that he's faced. He was meant to fight Midar Slaminas at the back end of the last year, about 11 months ago now. So yeah, as you mentioned, the competition he's been picked up against has not been any kind of easy, has it?
No, really hasn't. And he's been thrown into absolute killers every single time. Especially Ross Houston. Like, Ross Houston's just been after that fight with Nicolas Salvi was ridiculous. Now he's in Bellator, he's fighting MVP. He's been, he's up there with probably some of the best in the world, really.
Yeah,
he stood there with him twice.
I think a lot of people were expecting, at least when it was announced, that MVP was getting, he's become somewhat known for fighting quote and unquote cans, but Ross Houston certainly isn't what people were expecting or maybe anticipating MVP to be fighting in a couple of weeks.
Oh, not at all. That's it. But that's like the levels that the fighters are at when they're in Cage Warriors is insane. So it's great, like seeing them kind of step up to massive fights like that is really, really good as well. 100%.
We'll have a quick look at the Taylor tape. 9-5-1, 6-4 on the other side, of course, both 6 feet tall. It is a close one, 33 to 27 in terms of age. It is, as you mentioned, it's probably one of the most difficult ones out there to put your money on, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I personally wouldn't be betting on this one. Genuinely wouldn't. I just wouldn't be confident enough. I think if I was gonna, I'd put my money on Aaron Khalid. I think he's my pick for this fight. Just from watching, I think he's he's quite talented. He's tough, but I think it'll probably be a great enough fight, and hopefully produces something good.
Definitely. Now, obviously, we'll move on to a fighter who had a fight that we broke was Madar Slaminas. He was supposed to fight Chris Astley, of course, that we broke on the channel a couple of weeks ago now, but unfortunately, I think Chris Astley tested positive in his test yesterday, and now Slaminas has got a new opponent. Oh, was he injured?
What are you on about? You're mixing up fights, Mitch.
I am. There's too many going on this weekend.
No, that didn't. What happened was what was happened to Fig. So Astley pulled out a while ago, and Figlak. So he's the brother of who's fighting. So I think his brother's fighting Oban Elliott earlier in the night. I think this is Matt Figlak who's fighting Flaminas. Yeah, so he took that. He's had that fight relatively short notice. It's not as if it was he took the fight yesterday.
Yeah.
He's known for a little while, so he's had a small bit of time to prepare. But yeah, this one should be good. We originally broke this one and as soon as we broke, I was thinking, man, Flaminas. Like originally thought against Chris Astley, this would be a great fight. But this Figlak one should be pretty good. I'm kind of leaning in favor of Flaminas a little bit more. Guy just goes in there, and you'd expect he used to just run through guys and just dominate them. I think he could do that again tonight, to be honest with you.
Is this one of those?
Go on.
So as I say, is this one of those ones that is underlined for a potential fight of the night?
No.
No.
Potentially. Well, I don't know. It depends. I'm interested to see what level Figlak's at, because he's taking the fight relatively short notice. His only other appearance in Cage War is to Ian Gary. I think he lost that with the rear naked choke.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, I got that one right. So yeah, he looked good in that, and he looked good in that. But obviously, Gary was he's not as experienced. He wasn't as experienced as Flaminas was, and Figlak's he's only 3-1 against 7-1. It's not absurd, really. But in terms of fighting guys who are very high level, like Flaminas is just after fighting Adam Proctor.
Yes.
When you go with that, I don't think Figlak's kind of been fighting guys who are really high level, or as high a level, as Flaminas. I think the best that Figlak's fought is Ian Gary.
Definitely, I was there for that Adam Proctor loss that Flaminas suffered. It was a relatively close fight, but again, I think Proctor won every round, if I remember correctly, on the scorecard, 30-27. But again, as you mentioned, a very tough level of opposition. And obviously, I was looking at the record of Flaminas now. He's got Matthew Bonner, who's also fighting on the card, of course. Another fight that we broke at MMA Latest. Make sure to drop the socials, a follow on both Twitter and Instagram. He's up against Leeds, should I say? Let's not get that one messed up. George Smith, I get the death threats in the comments there for getting that one mixed up. But George Smith versus Matthew Bonner. This is one that personally I'm most excited for, just because of the connection with George Smith. Of course, he's a sound lad. What one are you? How are you looking forward to this fight? What are you thinking?
I think it should be a good scrap. I'm actually really for this one. I think I'm kind of a bit with you on this one. I'm leaning more towards Smith. I think Smith he's a real talent. Especially at middleweight. He's 5-1. He's kind of an up and comer. He's young enough as well.
Only 25.
Yeah, he's only 25. He's got loads. He's got 6 fights. He's 6 fights. 5-1. He's 25. He's got years ahead of him as well, and he's moving up that division quick enough as well. I'd say realistically, I wouldn't be surprised a win here and maybe 1 or 2 more fights, maybe, give or take, and he would be probably in contention for a title shot for sure.
Well, definitely. I know when we spoke to them back in March now, in the build-up for their Cage Warriors 112 fight, I know his coach Matt Inman said that he wanted the belts at bantamweight, middleweight, and I believe welterweight as well. I know he wanted 3 belts this week, with Jack Cartwright, of course, holding the belt there. So he
Sorry,
wanted
I was thinking.
not George Smith. He's not cutting down to bantamweight. But
I
no,
picked you up around there.
no worries. But yeah, he wanted the 3 belts, or at least 3 a title shot at least towards the end of this year. And I think his Cage Warriors 112 fight was an armbar win inside 13 seconds, and even on the night he was carrying a little injury in there, and he got taken down, I believe. But his jiu-jitsu showed how phenomenal it is. And again, as you mentioned, he's one of those fighters that are on the come up. And a win tonight is, as you mentioned, does put him one step closer to that title shot.
Oh yeah, I'd imagine so if he because I think it was Bonner's last fight was against James Richardson. Richardson was supposed to fight for the middleweight belt against Nathias Frederick. So obviously that's not happening now because there was a positive COVID test somewhere along the line. But if Bonner was up there enough for Richardson to jump straight into a title fight, then I can only imagine that Smith is probably a win here and maybe one more fight away, just to give him another bit of experience. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised for him to jump into that title kind of contention very, very soon.
Definitely, it'd be nice to see him as well. Also, we've had interviews with him on the channel, of course, and he's such a nice guy. You wouldn't expect him to be a cage fighter almost with his personality. He's very calm, very he's a very calm individual. It's like it's almost shocking when you see what he does inside the cage. And as you probably know, there's a lot of fighters out there that you wouldn't put 2 and 2 together until you see him fight.
It's such a shame he's a Leeds fan.
I know.
Genuinely, like he's a really nice, because he just seems like a really nice guy. You've met him and you say really good things about him, and I know all the lads saying good things about him, met him as well. But yeah, it's just such a shame, man.
That makes 2 of us.
Yeah, besides that, he's phenomenal. You can't help but wish him the best. But not the least. I saw him wearing the kit in a Twitter post the other day, and I was looking at it thinking, I liked you.
Yeah, it's dangerous. It shows you what the bravery on him to walk in a lead shirt in his gym in Manchester, which is in the centre of town in Manchester as well.
Is it? I didn't exactly know. I was about to ask this, thinking, what? I wonder what he's doing walking around Manchester. Then again, I walked around Manchester with a Burnley shirt. I got stopped once ever, and by a load of people. But they're not that bad. You're not that bad around them parts.
Definitely not. But yeah, as you mentioned, I'm hoping, a little bit biased there. I'm hoping he gets the win tonight, puts on a good performance. If there's anything like the one that he had early in the year, he's probably going to be looking for a quick turnaround again. And we said off camera, he's one of those that are looking for a potential UFC spot next year.
Yeah, like you wouldn't be surprised. Obviously, you can't really overlook Bonner as a legend. Like he's tough as nails as well. Like so you can't really look past him. But if he does, yeah, you'd be thinking next year. It wouldn't be year, 2 years, especially if he wins the belt. Then he'd be shooing. I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be shocked if he didn't win the belt. But, I think first up would be the belt for him after this one. You'd hope.
Yes, 100%. I just looking at Matthew Bonner's record, he's got Marco Madsen on there, who made his UFC debut in quite impressive fashion. I believe a couple of years ago now. So, actually no, just last year as well. It was, wasn't it? So you can see that
Cage Warriors Denmark. Academy.
Yeah, it was, and it shows you just the level of competition that Bonner's faced, and also that if you if you beat Bonner as well, you're probably getting ready to take that next step.
Yeah, it's mad. You're probably ready. Like we saw that Richardson, who's obviously supposed to fight, we mentioned it already. But so you'd imagine the same goes for this fight. Probably you're gonna have to run. I'd imagine they're gonna have to run that Nathias Frederick. Actually, now that I think about it, do you know how Graham Bowden was saying? I think it was yesterday. It was today that some of these guys, if they win today, you could see them jump in. I'd love to see if George Smith, if he could, if he came out untouched. Now there's massive ifs, buts, and maybes here. Comes out completely untouched. Same with Bonner. If any of them come out completely untouched, jump into that title fight. Imagine. Obviously, don't even know the logistics. Don't know who's available to fight, who they're looking at. But the potential, if the potential was there, the winner of that, if it was a quick fight and they came out with no damage, would be pretty cool. But the cut just depends on how much weight they have to cut again to make it.
That's a great shout. That is a great shout.
I'd be interested to see if that one's actually on the cards, but it's a tough one, especially. Very tough.
Definitely. I was just thinking that, are all the UFC Fight Island cards full?
Haven't looked.
I was
Completely
thinking,
honest, haven't looked.
do you think anyone this weekend, if they get a quick turnaround,
Anyone
maybe a short
this
notice
weekend?
fight, if they get a short notice fight on that UFC 254 card
Oh yeah.
at the end of the month,
End
anyone?
of the month, yeah, the winner of Mason Jones stands out like a sore thumb. That one's the one I'm thinking. If anyone comes out of that and they're UFC are like, we need a guy, I'd be looking at the winner of that fight, to be honest with you, because Fight Island, they're getting in all the Europeans. It'd be somewhat perfect if there's any. It'd be somewhat perfect for one of them to kind of jump on one of those cards as well.
Definitely. I was just thinking that, obviously, Corey McKenna went from Cage Warriors, went into that Contender Series spot, and now she's making her debut in about 5-6 weeks now in November. It'd be nice almost now. I don't know if it's worth doing, but I know Dana White probably wouldn't want to do it, but they bought a Contender Series European edition. Because I believe they do one for Brazil, don't they?
They did, yeah. I don't understand why they haven't. It's like, it was the same with Looking for a Fight. I always wanted them to do a Looking for a Fight and sign it and do a Cage Warriors event, because obviously there's the clear tie between UFC Fight Pass and Cage Warriors. So like the dream is always there. It's like, yes, they go around. You send Dana White, Matt Serra, and Dean Thomas around around London or Manchester or Liverpool, and just watch them do some mad stuff, and then afterwards they go to Cage Warriors. This could be perfect. Like, to be honest, how they haven't even done it with that, but yeah, you'd love to see, in terms of Contender Series, you'd love to see what them do one like that as well. Yeah,
especially with the prevalence of the UFC PIs in Shanghai now. I think they built one in Mexico. I think it's only a matter of time before we get a headquarters in Europe, and especially probably in the UK.
Well, they're setting up the UFC gyms all around the UK now.
Yeah, we've got a couple now, so it's slowly coming across.
It's slowly coming across. So the UFC gyms are coming across. A lot of fighters from Cage Warriors are going the other way. So not sure about the fair trade-off. Probably a fair trade-off for the UK, and Cage Warriors probably even happier that they're producing even more talent into the UFC. It's kind of like conveyor belt at this point for fighters.
Yes.
Like, yeah, add 2 fights, win title, in you go. Or there's a fight comes up, throw in there. Like Reece McGee, for example. Like he's another one that's gone recently. You see these guys, you don't even need to win a belt to go in there nowadays. It's great. It's kind of great to see, because just see the you see UK MMA, European MMA, Irish MMA just developing so fast. It's crazy.
Well, you saw it on the last Fight Island, didn't you? The amount of European fighters that we had on there. As you mentioned, Reece McKee made his debut there. Khamzat Chimaev, made his debut against. He fought Reece McKee, after 11 days after making his debut against John Phillips. So what the power that it has, and especially being on Cage Warriors. If you're at the top of the organization, if someone calls you, you're probably gonna be expecting a call, 2-3 weeks time. And especially with the situations we're in, it's probably benefited a lot of their fighters more than hindered them.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if if the main event from this fight, from this event tonight, would get a call up for that.
100%.
Now, I think did you actually, you know what I'm going to say to you? Did you see the Cage Warriors, it's called Unplugged, their vlog series they have put up there today?
I haven't actually, no. I saw the little hotel clip that they put out.
Yeah, it's Oban Elliott right? And Michael Figlak, the brother of the other Figlak. That's why. Yeah, man, that fight's a banger. I'm really looking for it. That was a really random kind of confrontation, because Figlak comes in, he just starts, what's that called, my bitch, and stuff like this. I'm thinking, I was thinking, what's this lad at? And then over there, the two of them start kind of mouthing off. It was a fantastic clip. I loved watching it. It was pure entertainment. Entertainment value was just top notch. That vlog series is fantastic. But yeah, I think because of what happened, that fight should be a banger. Open Elliott and Figlak. I'm really, really psyched for that.
Definitely, I think this is the more than perfect opener into what a weekend of fights we're going to have. Obviously, you did the top 10 fights to watch this week. Make sure to check that out if you're on the channel, of course. But we're building up now. Cage Warriors, one more thought. We've got the Trilogy, we've got Bellator Milan, and of course we've got the UFC 253, and we will be covering them, of course. Let's get a prediction out of you then. who are we seeing in a positive sense for the last time in this Cage Warriors trilogy?
Oh, in the trilogy. Oh, I don't. Jesus Christ, I don't really know. From the
Put you on the spot there.
Just going through the fights that are left. I'll stick with tonight's ones, and we'll come back to that in the next few lives.
Yeah, because we'll be doing live previews of both of them as well.
Yeah. So let's say if I'm gonna go through tonight, I'd say next up for the UFC would be. I think Shanks and Hadley will. I'd like to see the two of them fight before one goes to UFC, but if I had to say one, I'd say if I'm picking Shanks in the main event, so I'd say Shanks. After that, then wouldn't be surprised if Hadley got a call up for that 125 division. In terms of not yet but future, I'd imagine Open Elliott could go there sometime in the next 2 years. I'm on that hype train. I think he's probably going to be. I think he's potentially a future champ at 155. Ian Gary then at 170. I think those two could end up like taking over those divisions. They're both absolutely lethal, but Open Elliott in particular, it's good submission game, lethal striking as he showed when he was an amateur. Mainly lost submissions as a pro. But there's one for the future. Besides that, directly in, I could just say the winner of that Luke Shanks fight, and maybe the Hadley fight as well.
100%. Just thinking that Wales has started to produce a real hotbed of MMA talent. Obviously, you've got Mason Jones there, Corey McKenna, of course, who we mentioned previously. It's bubbling up in Wales now, isn't it?
Yeah, you love to see it. What Jack Shore, Brett Johns. Funny, they all come from Cage Warriors. But Jack Shore, Brett Johns. Now you have the lads in Cage Warriors pulling through as well. It's unreal. Like kind of Wales becoming like it's kind of like Ireland in a sense where you have all this group just pulling through together. It's fantastic. You actually there's a few Irish lads in this card now, Mitch.
Yes.
Kieran Mulholland and Jack Maguire, two Irish prospects, probably bit early to be fighting each other, I think. I don't know. I wish this fight happened a bit later in their careers. I think they're both quite good. Fancy Mulholland here myself. I think he's lethal, but I think this should be this guy. And then John Mitchell. Oh my God, what a fighter.
Definitely be expecting some big things. Go on.
Yeah, man. Three Irish lads. You're hoping big things. You always have to back them. Well, I do anyway.
Definitely, European MMA is well and truly back, isn't it? And it's so nice to see all the talent that we're producing at the moment as Europe, and on the continent as well. It is really beautiful to see, isn't it?
Oh, I'm so happy. Matt, sitting there, you're just sitting there through lockdown and looking at Tapology, scrolling through, thinking,
cancelled event for the first 2-3 months.
You're looking at events. Oh, they're still getting cancelled, but like you're not. Now you're seeing the likes of Cage Warriors come back, and now they're covering back the whole shebang. You're thinking, oh, we are well and truly back. It doesn't even matter. Like, don't need fans. Just give us those fights back. Give us more trilogies. I'd be happy with that. I wouldn't mind the Cage Warriors Fight Island. There was talks that don't know where it's gone. I think Scott put that up on Twitter yesterday. Scott Hyten. So yeah, I don't know what's happened to that, but I'd love to see that happen too.
Definitely. I don't know if, depends on where they do it, isn't it? I mean, they could do it. I wish someone could put an event on in Ireland and call it Fight Island and just use the pun off that. But
go to like the
Isle of Wight.
Isle of Wight, the Isle of Man, or go to some random island off
up in the north of Scotland.
Off the Highlands. I don't know. There's a few off Ireland you could take, actually. There's a few off Ireland you could just set up a cage, a big event in the tent for all the medics there. It'd be absolutely madness. I'd love to see it. But
yeah, definitely. It seems like Cage Warriors are set up based in Manchester at the moment. Obviously, you mentioned Cage Warriors 1 and 2 was the first event that they had in Manchester. And then they continue to have 4 more. We've got 5 in total, 4 of them without a crowd. Yeah. It's very upsetting being so close. It is very upsetting.
For you, yeah, to be fair, if there was crowds, I'd be over there in a heartbeat. It is what it is. I think at the moment I'm more grateful that these events were even allowed to go ahead. Realistically,
yes,
and especially back in the trilogy. Should be a good
definitely. Definitely. I think it's a good place to wrap it up there, guys. We're about half an hour away from the fight starting. Of course, a cracking night. And a cracking weekend despite some of the fights being cancelled. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 10k. Make sure to give Quarter a follow, of course. He does a lot of the European MMA, a lot of the Tapology stuff as well. So, a lot of the Cage Warriors events and information that you would have seen on Tapology would have been coming from him as well. So make sure to give them a follow as well and keep up to date with everything. European MMA is finally back and better than ever at the moment. Unfortunately, it's just not got any crowds to be watching it. But of course, make sure to tune in onto the next video, and we'll see you guys on the next video tomorrow.
See you in the next one. Nice image. Oh, turn TV.